seen that I did it in the middle of the broadcast. That's why perhaps I wasn't actively listening to Orcs as well as I could have been. But yeah, that's okay.
That's why.
Brotax takes precedent, okay?
No, I get it. I understand it. It's a valid reason.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that I'm listening from now on, I promise.
Yeah, I'm totally sure you will be. At least you have an excuse for not listening this time, you know. Sometimes you saw something interesting, there was something shiny.
Yeah, shiny things do tend to catch my eye. That is a very good point. But I will do my very best to listen. I think it should be part of my job.
We've tried to limit the amount of shiny things around the Caster Blanc, but obviously technology doesn't bite shiny things, so it's hard to completely rule them out.
I had to really fight to get my my tablet up here because they were like, no, it's a bit too shiny. Who knows what you could have on that thing?
Yeah, it's problematic.
Yeah, it is definitely problematic. Well, we do have a couple of junglers being banned away here as the Pantheon not going to get through this time around. The Vi also going to be taken away once again, this time on the blue side. It's kind of interesting because I feel like Croco has been one of our better Vi players. The Orianna has really been creeping up into first ban status, but now we've got this weird Varus, Azir, Taliyah situation, and the bros get to choose.
We've seen Orianna really commonly banned against DN Freecs. I think a lot of people respecting that Ori Nocturne combo that they were running for a while.
Ah, Yunara's up. Never mind.
Yunara slammed down. It's going to get answered, though, with the Varus, it seems, by DN Freecs. So a pick that can obviously punish you out in lane and also outrange you in the later stages. Looks like they're not definitely going to lock that in now, though, looking at the Azir for Bulldog, which is his most played pick. Even with the Taliyah available, I think they'll probably just go for this one. And I think Azir, definitely something they'll have to prioritize. You could just go Azir and then a jungler, and then go on that third pick, the Varus. Looks like they'll just take the Varus in this situation. Yep, Trundle is available, though, and that's something Freecs heavily prioritized and would be good into a lot of the junglers left available.
Yeah, this is the thing. I feel like Trundle has kind of skyrocketed in priority, especially looking at what we have right here. I think Trundle is kind of annoying for Yunara to deal with at the same time, so maybe Croco just locks that away here.
This says to me that the Freecs are a little concerned about maybe Bro locking a top laner here, and if they left the Varus till 3, they wouldn't be able to answer. Like if they'd gone like Azir, Trundle, Varus on 3, couldn't respond, could be problematic. Maokai ends up coming.
We're Maokai Yuneing. That's just what we're going to do.
I mean, this is a lot of aggressive teamfight power, you know? You have this long-range backline for the side of the DN Freecs, who can obviously apply a lot of poke pressure, but, I mean, Bro are just looking to charge you down and explode you, and I think the Trundle coming out here makes a lot of sense. The Pillar can obviously do a moderate job of disrupting some of this and kiting away, but also making that first target, if the Maokai does come in, that much squishier.
Yep. Not the most massive value into the Maokai as it would have been in other years, because he does like to build a fair bit of AP these days.
Yeah, I also feel like he can be quite non-committal. You know, if you have a lot of other tanks, you have to lead the charge, get in. Maokai can kind of just ult from a distance and play it safer. But it definitely feels like these comps both have a theme they've lent towards and sort of goals for how they're going to play out the team fight. And now it's really about the picks that will sort of consolidate that and leaning towards those. Still no looking towards the top laners, though.
Yep.
Gwen will be banned out by the DN Freecs, which I think makes a lot of sense, because with all that diving forwards, these threats coming through, a Gwen on top of that would just be such a nightmare to deal with.
Not to mention the fact that the Bros can just ban the Aurora, and then they can choose either the Gwen or the Rumble, depending on whether that's going to be banned away here by the DN Freecs. I wouldn't even be surprised if the DN Freecs do just take away the Rumble, just because Red Side Rumble, all those shenanigans. Not going to be preferable, but the Rumble's actually going to be banned on blue, which is kind of odd here. It's going to be eliminating that option. I'm very interested in what Morgan's going to be playing. Maybe he just goes back to the Croc. Maybe it's just time to be an ancient reptile in the top lane.
Yeah, it's interesting what angle DN Freecs might take here, because, I mean, the Aurora is still open as an option. I feel like Morgan has played the Aurora a lot himself, also played a lot of tanks, so I feel like he's got a fair few amount of options. The Ambessa comes out as a ban.
Okay. We are really getting to the bottom of the barrel here as far as the top lane is concerned, and I'm expecting that Dudu's just going to play Cassante. I don't know why. I just feel like that's going to be the way. And this could definitely be a Rakan angle here for Quantum as well, if they do want to lock that one away. Otherwise, they hold on to that for counter pick, and they take something for Dudu, and he can play a tank. I mean, so the Scion's going to be the option.
If they go the Scion here, I feel like Morgan's pretty fine with it.
Oh yeah, it's just Cho'Gath, isn't it?
He can go the Cho'Gath, he can go the Aatrox. Yeah, I feel like he's pretty comfortable into this, so I don't think he's really too afraid playing into the Scion. Instead, they go for Rel.
I think it's safer.
Yep, I think you don't give the information over to Morgan. Quantum, his first match when he came in the LCK was on this role and he had a really good performance. And with the Alistar gone as well, I don't think there's too many matchups you're going to be that uncomfortable on with the Rel.
Well, we're going to see what Polo's going to be playing first by the looks of things. Of course, Morgan does need to blind pick something. Why do I feel like it's going to be Gnar? That's a Xerath. I don't think that's what's going to be happening here on the bottom side, but it is going to be the Nautilus. Hype just messing with us a little bit here. And now, please, Lord, show us what you will be playing. What do you think it's going to be? Is it just going to blind Aatrox? Something like that?
I feel like you could get put in an uncomfortable position if you do that.
Yeah. Aatrox, Gnar, or Renekton are my expectations. And it's going to be the Renekton. I
think the Renekton feels... I think Morgan's obviously very confident on it, and I think it's unlikely that Duda's going to bring something out that's going to be that bad of a matchup. Yep. But I think it was the right call from DN Freecs putting the Scion last, because otherwise Morgan would have taken a matchup like the Aatrox, like the Cho'Gath, that would have been a lot more comfortable. And instead, Morgan's blinding, and now I think Dudu's in a much more comfortable spot. And I think ultimately DN Freecs been pretty happy with what they got. The big sort of elephant in the room is the Yunara, right? Really powerful pick that, if unchecked, can be a massive problem. But the DN Freecs composition, you have the Varus, right? You have ranges that are quite hard. The Azir can be pretty problematic to deal with. Bro really need to close the distance with that composition, and they definitely have tools to do so. But I think both compositions interact in different ways, and it really comes down to the execution. If DN Freecs get a lead, and if they don't do a traditional DN Freecs fumble, this is definitely winnable, but you know, those are big ifs.
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs and buts. I also think that Croco and Closer are on a pretty dynamic duo here in the Maokai Yone. It's something that we often look to when the bros are playing. Will that 1-2 punch of the mid-jungle actually make things happen? And there is certainly potential there. Yunara, a big one for Hype. As you say, this champion has been deemed just too powerful here in the LCK, but it has slipped through. But basically everything has. Trundle, Azir, and Varus all on the red side here is kind of ridiculous. And so we'll see whether the bros can overcome it with just the Yunara as their massive power pick that they bring into this one. It's Pro versus DNF though. Does the draft even matter? Let's get into it.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
My goodness. DNF fans are absolutely deafening here in Lol Park today. Even though they have been eliminated, they cannot make it to the play-in stage. This round robin will be the final one for this team, or at least, you know, the next little mini round robin that we have. Round 5 is going to be the last one.
I just think it's so cool. They just never stopped. They just never stopped showing up.
Yep.
Never stopped just enjoying.
It's not about faith. It's just about loving this team.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
미니언들이 생성되었습니다.
And once again, DNF have a pretty nice scaling composition. You would say that the Varus isn't necessarily the hardest scaling, but we have seen Lethality Varus actually do some decent things in the late game. And as we've already mentioned, there's not really true tanks on Bro's side. That would be difficult to manage into the Trundle anyway. So probably still going to get a bunch of value. That being said, they had Senna, Sion, Azir, and lost to Bro at like 50 minutes.
Yeah.
With a massive gold lead.
There's
so
always,
it doesn't really matter.
There's always caveats. You can never be sure of anything when it comes to a matchup like this. So
I'm sure that someone's Nexus will explode at the end of this game. That's as far as I'm going to go, though.
Fairly safe bet, you know.
And then obviously we get Chrono Break, and actually it's a remake or something like that, and this game isn't even included.
Yeah.
That could be a thing. Do you remember there was that one game where it was like the most incredible early game that Canyon has ever played on Trundle, but then we had to remake it, and the game just was lost, was gone forever?
I don't think I do. But
yeah, that was a thing that happened.
Yeah. But I'm not sure what happened level 1. It looked like Quantum got chunked out by Polu. And Polu also has Ignite, so...
Oh dear. Quantum's in a lot of trouble. Hype chasing after them. Activates the Q. But still a fair bit of damage back here from Berserker. Polu getting his eye in with these anchors, though, and it is pretty scary. Look at this huge stack of minions as well that DNF will have to deal with, as Hype and Polu with so much control of this lane.
I mean, so much pressure being applied. Polu doing a great job. And again, the Ignite into heal is so much more combat power. You get low, the Ignite reducing the healing just means you're liable to die. I actually honestly think he could have ignited Quantum there. And I'm not sure if Quantum would have died, but he certainly would have had to recall. But he's holding it. It's very clear that Polu isn't wanting just to force a recall. He wants a kill.
Yeah, there's another hook connecting. The Ignite, like you were talking about, is going to go down.
Importantly, though, Quantum healed before the Ignite.
Yeah.
So
and Hype hit the Slurkle as well, which was pretty cool. Did you see that when he hit the Slurkle?
Yeah. Is that what it's called now?
Yeah, that's what it's called now. Because it's a slowing circle.
Interesting.
And what we do is we combine those two words, and it turns into Slurkle.
Okay. That does make me a little uncomfortable.
I know, doesn't it? Because I don't even really know why it makes you uncomfortable, you know? Because it is just word fusion of two very common words.
Yeah.
Okay? It shouldn't make anyone uncomfortable, but it does.
It does.
That's what makes it so good. Okay, that's enough talking about Slurkle for at least the next 2.5 minutes.
Oh, because I know you're so good at just dropping things and not bringing them up again and again and again.
And all of those promises that I've made to you as well.
Yeah.
Where I've said, no, we're not going to talk about tempo vibes again.
Yeah.
And then it only is the only thing that I talk about for the remainder of
I'm sure Slurkle won't be a thing.
Right.
I'm sure it's not going to get brought up like 76 more times over the course of today.
Yeah, I admit, whenever Yunara is played, I will talk about Slurkle because I just think it's fantastic. And I don't want to, what is it, like Arc of Judgment or something weird that just doesn't really work?
Arc of the Covenant?
Yeah, it's Arc of the Covenant. I think that's what the ability is actually called. And I just don't, it is Arc of Judgment. And it sounded like it didn't make sense enough for me to not even think that it's correct. So instead, it's now Slurkle.
Okay.
Whether you like it or not, Ox. All right. Closer is down to 200 health. He's going to go back. And even in farm completely with Bulldog here. So doing a pretty good job on the Yone. And I don't know whether I think his last Yone game was a little hit or miss, if I remember correctly. So I think Closer is going to be doing a little bit of trying to redeem himself in this game.
Yeah. And I think into a situation like this, a lot of... I mean, to be fair, if you get hit by something like the Varus ult, you can just kind of get exploded, but all you have to do is connect that ult onto either Bulldog or Berserker, and you're kind of golden. You know, there's so much value to be gained. Even if you don't kill them, just locking them up, getting a good amount of damage in will get so much value. But surviving the lane, you know, even though obviously Yone picked a lot into his ear, a lot of the early laning in most Yone into range matchups is just weathering the storm, getting to the early levels.
Another hook connects here onto Quantum as Hype fighting Berserker here. The Slurkle lands. It's a beautiful cleanse, and he needed it because otherwise he was going to die. Hype still with that summoner spell available as Polu is getting so much value out of this Ignite, keeping it on cooldown. You love to see it. As Closer not going to be worried about being put in the kennel.
And it just feels like constantly Brove had the pressure in this matchup.
Well, the flash forward from Quantum, the cleanse flash to get Hype out of there, and Polu is just chasing Berserker down. First blood, and Polu is taking matters into his own hands, picks up a double on the Nautilus. Oh man, and we have been critical of Polu. Not today. Today, he's truly the president.
Huge win there for Bro. Pioshik was in the vicinity heading on up to provide the backup, but an overstep from the DNF bot lane backfires massively. Both of them going down. The only minor, tiny consolation prize is that Polu was the one who got the kills, but this ends up backfiring massively, and Quantum goes for the play, but Hype has both sums, doesn't even get hit by the hail of arrows there, and Berserker, Polu follows him and just beats him down.
Yep. And then has the passive in order to stun up this Rel at the same time. Yeah, Duke pretty happy about that one. Oh, the double claps as well as Polu manages to lock it down. He wasn't thinking about the support getting a double kill. He was thinking about his team getting 2 kills in this early game and getting themselves a 700 gold lead.
I mean, having an early lead in a Yunara lane against a Varus, and a Yunara who bought a Cull, you're just feeling so good.
Oh, yeah. And now the fact that this is right when Polu gets unlocked as well. Whenever he turns up in a lane, like he's got a Kindle gem sort of just chilling there. Hasn't really got a big item lead, as it turns out, against Quantum. But
I mean, he has the boots and the cloth. I mean, that's something that's
right. I mean, like, that's exactly the lead, in fact. In Gold, so
that's something that's always obviously you'd rather have these kills in the Yunara because you'll get it towards a late game snowballer sooner. But in terms of like early impact, the gold on the support, he's going to be roaming about. He's going to be present in a lot more plays. He's going to be a bit tankier. And again, I'm not saying you'd rather have it on Polu, but that gold isn't useless that it's on the support.
And you can also transfer that gold better in the early game, like you're saying. But it will take Polu having to get out there, make stuff happen. Great interrupt there from Morgan onto Dudu, but Dudu not really too worried about it. He's got, Balmy Cinder as well as that Bramble Vest. He's pretty happy with how things are right now. But probably not super happy about the couple of kills that Bro have been able to pick up. Feats of Warfare, just one away. Is this Drake getting on in age just a little bit?
Yeah, you see, Croc actually took 2 of the grubs, then moved down just to defend his own red buff from Pioshik. But Pioshik didn't go for the dragon in return, so Bro managed to get an objective. No real major trade other than those Raptors on the bot side, and it just feels like another big win for Bro. And again, you know, if you look at the series scoreline, yeah, Bro much more favored against DNF, but DNF normally have the edge in the early game, normally come out ahead there, and then it's later where we see them struggle. Right now, they're struggling already, and it's not a great trend for them based on how typically things tend to go.
Yeah, I'm putting that in the cons column directly here. As Morgan with full health, feeling pretty happy. Roar of the Slayer and the Q combo here from Dudu. That'll be all right.
Morgan actually denying the cannon there. Very sad for the Scion.
Yeah, not great. Well, Pioshik is finally going to come down and look for this Drake, as Polu can get a ward in and then even immediately come on over and be frustrating. But as you can see, there is lane control for the Varus. So not going to be diving on in with any blast cones or anything like that. Croco just going to let this dragon go. Not too worried about a singular ocean this time around, as nice stun out from Morgan. Does get knocked up by the Q. There is the Soul Furnace as well, doing a lot of work, as Morgan gets hit by another Q there as well. So the Scion doing a pretty good job here in this top lane. And now let's see what Hype can do. Quantum with the Magnet Storms, pretty good, but another cleanse does come out. There's the double knockup, but Pioshik is going to come in, and Polu, I don't think he's going to make anything happen here. He's just going to be taken down. There's a kill on the board for DNF.
Really easy gank there coming in. You know, they also get the cleanse from Hype. The CC setup forces it. So a return play before that's up and available will be very easy to make, but there's just nothing really Polu can do. Nautilus into Trundle feels so bad because, you know, the tankiest support anyway, so when you get ulted by him, you just become paper. But also, one of the best ways to escape as a Nautilus is to hook terrain, but the pillar just blocks that.
Well, Hype being pretty aggressive here towards the bottom side of the map, as Polu made his way back very, very quickly, as you certainly can do with this unsealed spellbook. So the Bros continuing to have a fair bit of pressure down here. Pioshik does have that Sundered Sky now completed. First item spike for the Trundle is pretty nice. Still getting towards the Liandry's for Croco. I think the Bros pretty fine with how things are going at this point in time. Just want to be able to find that next kill, lock in those Feats of Warfare, make stuff happen. As Morgan getting aggressive towards Dudu here. And not too much else going to really occur. Dudu just pretty happy to get some grasp stacks, I think.
Yeah. I feel like that's the vibe when you're playing a tank in the top lane. You know, a matchup like Renekton, you just getting some grass stacks, chilling out, scaling up, a little back and forth. As long as you're not dying, you're having a good time.
Yep, you're playing a different game than the champion that has Conqueror, you know?
Yeah, I just feel like it's...
You just want number to go up.
It's that vibe with the Renekton, just like trying to force, trying to make things happen, really being really aggressive, very angry in your face, and the sound just like...
Bonk.
Yeah, vibe.
That's
amplified
that's
if you have Heartsteel. But yeah, here... I mean, it's Poluans walking up here, but Berserker lands the ult on Hype and sidesteps the Dredge line. And then here, Pioshik's really patient with the pillar, and it just means there's no way that Polu was able to get out. Eventually does put it down, but just to block away Hype from the situation.
Oh, I think he managed to get the cannon that time around. Managed to roar the minion all the way through. That feels pretty good there for Dudu. But he's still down about 10 CS. It's not really too much of a big deal, to be perfectly honest. Probably moving towards his mid lane as Berserker and Quantum are already parked. And let's see what Croco's going to do. Does, of course, have level 8, so the Nature's Grasp going to be available. Hasn't quite found an angle for it just yet. 2 minutes until the Cloud Drake. Soul, I assume, is probably going to be Kentech, because that's just how things are. As Morgan slicing and dicing and acting all cool.
He said that in a very judgy way.
Oh, okay. Bit of a fight here in this mid lane as Polo just going to flash away. Anchors to the wall.
Yeah.
Bro are not necessarily winning these trades as Pioshik has just kind of parked himself with the DNF bottom lane.
I think, honestly, that was a situation where Polu should have died. I think the pillar maybe thrown out a bit early. They knew he had flash. They knew he was back up from when they last took it, so I think they could have been patient with the flash. And once... Like, he kind of had to use it to dodge away from Quantum's ult. It's one of those situations where they threw a bit too many things, so his flash got too much value.
Yeah.
And he obviously does end up flashing out, and they still get a summoner, but a kill would have been even nicer there.
True. Still, see what they can do. As now moving down towards this bottom side of the map. In comes Pioshik, throws down the kennel. I don't think they're too interested in a dive, especially with Nautilus and Maokai on their way down.
Yeah. Do you have, it's now a minute till that Dragon, as you mentioned, but also the Herald up in a minute, so I think 2 major objectives up and available. At this point, though, Berserker really in a strong position, has that Ghost Blade up and available, compared to the Inara, who's still really coming online.
Oh, might be able to pick something up here, though, because she just finished the cull, so a fair bit of money in the coffers here for Hype, who does
Probably
just
boots,
completes, yeah, completes the shoes.
I mean, it's still decent, right? You're not useless by any means. But I think Berserker definitely going to be able to get prio in mid lane, and also if you land some big poke here, it can make a big difference. And there's no one really who can just soak. I mean, you're not really soaking poke from Varus. There's no way to do that. But like, there's no one who can walk up and take piercing arrows for free, right?
Yep.
I guess Polu can soak one with his Celestial opposition, but he will shred basically anyone.
Oh, you've got Pioshik and Bulldog just beating down this turret. That is just gone. Really nicely played. The Nature's Grasp is going to come through for the attempted punish. There's the Sun Disc going to be put up as Emperor's Divide comes down. Bulldog still not out of the woods just yet as the depth charge is going to lock him up. And they've taken 1 kill. Croco looking a bit worse for where there was Morgan. Sidesteps the Q. And there's a nice double knock off the ulti to follow there from Closer. Looking fantastic on the Yone this time as he flashes towards Dudu. He does get knocked up, but he's still pretty tanky on this Scion. Another Q going to connect, but the Soul Furnace is going to be back as Pioshik going to be flashing away. Hype flashes forward to get the kill on to the Trundle. The Arc of Ruin there does a fair bit of work towards Berserker, but he is safe under the turret. A big win for the Bros as they lock down the feats of warfare and grab so many extra kills.
Huge overcommit there from DNF onto the tower, and the thought process was, hey, if we get the tower, we have the Azir tower to come up and give us protection, but it just doesn't do that much. You see it here, they're like, okay, let's just play around it, but you actually see it just doesn't do that much damage. And so in the situation, like Closer's under there hitting Bulldog, you can see Polo was tanking it for a bit. It's just not really that threatening compared to an actual tower.
Yeah.
And so DNF realized, okay, we actually kind of have to leave, there's too many members there. But then they kind of get caught in the mixer, they're getting chased down, and it just ends up in a situation where too many people move down and try and defend. So now instead of just, you know, getting the tower, maybe losing 1 person, you're losing more and more members. Hype's getting kills as well.
Yep, massive Slurkle value as you saw there.
Oh yeah, huge Slurkle. And they get the Dragon as well, and it just turns into a massive disaster for DNF. Bro, very quick to respond, and also just not really respecting the Azir turret, and right not to do so.
Yeah, it's well played by the Bros. And now, looking to see what they can do about stopping this Rift Herald. Has been started up here by Pioshik. Not exactly full commit as the kennel does come down. Pioshik getting down low. The flash out from Croco will be respecting it, but now looking for the re-engage as the Nature's Grasp comes down. It does manage to find Quantum, who only has to really deal with a Slurkle as a result. And now Dudu making his way in. DNF committing to this fight, but Dudu off to the side, does charge the cube, but doesn't get the knock up onto Closer. Is now Hype doing so much work as Quantum down to 50%. Morgan dives in and will be able to stun up the Rel. Hook connects onto Pioshik. Emperor's Divide is decent as Morgan will be going down, but it's a double for Closer on the back end of the fight, and Hype is still there, laying down the damage. Closer looking for even more, but I think he'll have to go back to that soul pretty soon. And Dudu will survive, but still a massive win for the Bros once again.
Such good team fighting there from the Bros. They split off DNF. They deny Dudu's flank. They force Berserker away. And then they just beeline for the rest of the team. And they find a great angle there and get another big lead. We see it here. So Dudu, look at this angle. Both Hype and Closer just say, no, clear off. This is our side of the map. You can't come over here. And the rest of the team start moving forward, start posing a threat. So Hype and Closer start to move in. They force Berserker here. Hype does to flash over the wall. And then the rest of the team move forwards.
Oh,
they find this great engage. Hype is there for the follow-up. And Berserker can't really do anything off to the side. Dudu is already chunked out. Just great execution. And Closer finding a fantastic angle. This is definitely the redemption he needed for that. On that Yone.
Exactly right. That 3-man ulti just magnificent out of this guy. And I think it's a really good day to have Wolf on the space because he can tell you about how this is the year of Closer. Because I think this week, maybe it actually is.
Yeah.
Last week, it was a little bit less obvious.
We can settle for the weaker Closer, at least.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's about exaggeration. You know, you need to have a bit of that exaggeration. And so I'm happy to say that it's the year of Closer, even if it is maybe only just the week. Still, Quantum does manage to at least finish an item. It's the Zeke's Convergence, so it's not quite as valuable as what Polo has put together. The 2-1-4 Nautilus. And it's 8-2, man. Like, the Bros are really starting to run away with this, and the really worrying part of it is the fact that their composition just really does love this time of the game.
Yeah. I mean, also, you know, I feel like the fact that the bot lane didn't really go well, the fact that the Berserker, you know, this is when he should be strong, but Hype is just in a great position. Closer has a lead, and it just feels like they're in a really rough spot. I mean, Hype is so strong already.
Yeah.
He's approaching a second item.
Yeah, Renounce is going to be finished very, very soon. So DNF need to be really careful. Look at Hype, he's just walking into the enemy jungle. Because the Bros have so much control, so much vision all over this map.
Full confidence.
Yep. 50 seconds until that Infernal Drake that the Bros are laying down vision for. And I think they will have enough control to be able to take their second dragon of the game. Pretty late one as far as third Drake's concerned, so we're not even towards soul points just yet. As Morgan and Dudu just continuing to fight one another. It's not really going to eventuate in very much, guys. But they do hit each other a lot with buttons.
Good hitting, you know. Actually getting the Phantom Dancer coming out from Hype, so not going for
Morgan just bypassing Dudu completely to get a cheeky auto attack on this turret. Not too much more going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Bro feels so confident now. They just finished second item on Closer and Hype. We obviously have second item on Bulldog and Berserker, but they haven't finished their boots. And I think these spikes for Closer and Hype feel really good. So I think you just have to give up the Dragon in this situation for DNF. The thing is, it's still a long way for Soul for Bro, so it's not too much of a concern, but definitely not a fantastic feeling.
No, I think that this one isn't, you know, worth losing the game over. So
there'll be other dragons to lose the game over. Don't you worry.
Exactly. As Berserker going to get slurpled, but otherwise not too worried. And that is just the Drake going down. 3,000 gold, the approximate lead here for the Bros. And DNF trying to figure out what to do next. Their comp front to back is going to feel okay as this game goes on. The problem is the way the Bros have been playing out these fights is just being better.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the problem as well is that DNF would love to have control of an area, get set up, you know, force Bro to come into them and land poke. But I feel like with Bro having control, DNF are going to have to push in constantly, and it exposes you to flanks, it exposes you to walking into saplings, things like that. And it's just not a really comfortable position to be in. You can see Bro already setting up on this top side of the map. It is Atakan up and available, but also Baron coming up in a few minutes. So if you maintain this control here, even if you don't get the Atakan, it sets up for the Baron that's spawning later on.
Yep, it also means that if DNF ever start Atakan, then they could, if they then lose a fight, it's Atakan into Baron into probably just game over.
Yeah.
So it's so incredibly risky to be up there, but they have to, because they have to try and stop Bro from just taking the Atakan for free. It's a really worrisome position.
Man, these saplings are hitting.
Yeah. And that's 2 items on Croco as well, and he did not stop building damage.
Yeah.
As Morgan also, he's hit too, as the Spirit Surgeon does come in. Hook gonna go wide here from Polo. Kind of crazy that the hitbox didn't quite work out there, as somehow it's a double snare from the Nature's Grasp. Polo gonna have to flash away because that one is not really what he wanted. Hype able to dash out of the Scion ulti.
Okay, I mean, this was pretty good. They managed to get some summoners, they managed to get a kill. They get the TP from Morgan as well.
Ult down on Hype as well. So for the next little while, that is something they're not going to have to worry about quite as much. Still doing a fair bit of damage. Went Phantom Dancer, actually. Not the Runans like I was expecting.
Oh, nice pillar.
Yep. Beautiful stop on the Rift Herald. Not going to find any Shelly value off that one.
Yeah, so I mean, still in a deficit, but those were some good moves from DNF, and it's things like that, just mitigating the pressure, finding a little advantage, they'll make a big difference. And particularly, you know, the kill on Polo isn't the most meaningful thing. I will say that Dredgeline did look like a hit, and then the double root, very unfortunate.
Yeah, that I feel like the double root shouldn't have hit, but the Dredgeline should have hit.
Yeah.
And the punishment on the Magnet Storm being on cooldown just wasn't really there.
Yeah, I don't think Bro really in position, but they felt like we're strong, we should punish this, but end up overstepping. But I think the main thing for me is the fact that there's now flash down on Crocker and Polu, and they're both very squishy when you're really thinking about it, especially into a Trundle. And that's a bit of a window for DNF. If they find like a Varasol onto one of them, a pick like that can really make such a big difference, you know, so maybe a little bit more hope than we had before. And I think just finding angles like that are what they need. Also the TP being down on Morgan means if something does happen on the top side, I think it kind of makes Bro feel a lot more uncomfortable about starting the Atakan, given that their top laner has to, you know, find Prio, move over. That being said, he does now have Prio and is moving over, so that is the window if you want to lean towards it. But Dudu is able to respond, and it looks like Morgan isn't really too committal on playing towards the top side.
It's also going to mean, you know, mid control is going to be there for DNF. You saw they managed to get that wave shoved. But yeah, DNF just, they can't start this. Closer is just going to start hitting it. I don't know whether that's really going to eventuate in very much of anything at all, as Morgan and Dudu continue to fight.
I think some players, especially some champions, you know, you have sustain on your innate. It's just like a little compulsion. You know, you walk by it, you want to give it a little love tap.
Yep, sometimes you just want to hit something. And that's precisely what he's going to do. And now DNF 5 strong here in the mid lane as Kolu looking for a bit of a hook angle, finds a minion. That's not exactly what he wants as the Nature's Grasp comes down. Bulldog just out of position as Morgan is chasing after him, doesn't find the dice as there is the hook combo out from Polu onto Pioshik as the exhaust does come through. Dudu the first one to fall, and the front line is now missing for DNF. The Bros, I think they got what they wanted as they now look to push out the mid lane.
Great angle there from Morgan on the flank. Now DNF should be able to defend their tower. Fortunately, they still have the TP on Dudu, so he's going to be alive in time for that dragon spawn up, but you give up a lot of control. Croco's clearing out the vision. If he starts to get saplings up in the area, it's going to be pretty painful trying to contest this. Watch how Morgan plays this. It's actually so beautifully done. The CC comes on Apollo, but he cleanses. But Morgan goes in, gets the stun, and then actually dashes away to dodge the ult.
Oh, that was beautifully done.
So well played. And he obviously doesn't manage to stick on Bulldog and kill him, but because he forced him away, forced DNF to respond, it gives the rest of his team free range just to kill Dudu. So really nice flank from him there. Now, Bro have control over the area. DNF are TPing Dudu in to try and contest.
Yeah, Quantum looking for a bit of an angle here. As you can see, it's slightly split for the Bros. Once again, a flank angle for Morgan, but it is going to get watched out for as there's the exhaust onto Closer. Not really a full commit here, as Dudu just taking a lot of free damage for the moment. Another double knockup from the Q, and the instant ulti from Closer just says good night. The interrupt! This guy's Yone today is just something else, as Hype is looking to keep them at bay. That is soul point for the Bros. Oh, maybe it's actually the decade of Closer. Maybe the year wasn't enough.
I'm ready to call it, man. That was so clean. Getting the 2 with the ult and then interrupting the dash from Bulldog, taking him out.
I don't even think he needed to do that. It was already good enough.
And yet he did, you know, just rubbing it in, establishing that he's on form right now today. They'll get the Dragon, they'll get the Baron, they'll get the Atakan. and it's looking like they're gonna get the game one as well.
Yeah,
7-0-2 right now on the Yone.
I said it wrong before because I was like, oh, it should be Otacon into Baron into game over, but no, it was Dragon into Baron into Otacon and then game over. As now it is a 7.5k gold lead. And let's have a look at it from Closer's perspective yet again. The double knock up, the ulti, instant just death of the front line. And then, like, this did not need to happen, but it was so beautifully done.
It's just an ankle breaker, you know. That's the sort of thing that when it happens, it's not just the fact that, like, it's a sick play, but also from the other side, on the receiving end, it's a tilter. It feels bad to be on the receiving end. You're like, man.
It's like, dude, you already won the team fight. You didn't need to do that to me.
Yeah, I was dashing over the wall. And now, I mean, the lead is massive, right? And we've seen DNF struggle in these later game situations. There wasn't a game to throw in this situation. It's been Bro in control throughout, and now they have so many things in their favor. The Dact is firmly stacked towards Bro. They're establishing control. They're not stepping up too far, though. They are trying to just play around the fact they have this pressure from closing the side lane. You can see DNF moving.
Yeah.
Hard to pin down a Yone, though.
We're going to try and catch him as the ulti gets Closer out of there. That has been deadly in these fights, though, so a big cooldown to now be used up.
Yep.
Still, the Bros get a lot out of it. They take down this mid-outer turret finally, as the Blast Cone is going to evacuate Quantum and Pureshik.
Yeah, I will say, level 16, the ult cooldown.
Yeah, it's not massive.
Mount, so it won't be too long before it's up and available. And the team is now pushed forwards, establishing more vision. So Closer just needs to be a little bit more patient, and they should be able to start knocking on these tier 2 towers. DNF, though, you know, something I talked about before was burning summoners, being able to punish targets without those, but a lot back up and available. Now looking, though, for hype.
Yeah, Pureshik looking for the angle. That Arc of Ruin was doing so much damage. I did kind of want to call it budget extendo beam, but I've seen extendo beams do less damage than that.
That was pretty high budget, you know.
That was pretty high budget.
That's when you set a budget and you just overspend ridiculously, and you're like, there's no way we're making money on this.
Yeah. I think this was a poor financial decision.
But it did look cool.
It certainly did. As this inner turret will stay alive for the moment. Berserker and Bulldog going to be able to save that. But Morgan up there by himself, taking the inner turret in the top lane. 3,000 gold lead for the Crocodile. Morgan having a pretty good time today. As, yeah, Closer and Dudu fighting one another, and Closer feeling pretty happy about it. 3 items complete on this Yone.
And I feel like just Bro aren't giving real windows. It feels like DNF are constantly trying to pressure, trying to find an angle.
Morgan?
Yeah, he's just doing his thing. But again, you know, he backs off, he doesn't overstay for the inhibitor tower, he's going to recall, and it just feels like DNF are kind of running around looking for someone to try and target, someone to try and kill, and finding nothing right now. And it's a minute and a half until Infernal Soul.
This is kind of ridiculous. Going back for the reset, making sure that they use their empowered recalls as well.
Oh man, I'm just going to say, there's no way you're going to be able to balance the bucks with the extendo beam once you get the Infernal Soul.
Yeah.
There's just, the budget is just blown.
It's definitely not budget extendo beam anymore. It is Arc of Ruin. We can actually call it its real name. It does sound pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah.
When it's not Slurkle, it's Arc of Ruin.
Whoa.
Okay? We can actually call it.
I will not have Slurkle slander on this broadcast.
I mean, it's the same button, you know? It's just the altered up version.
I think a lot of our viewers prefer Slurkle.
Should we actually just call it Slurkle, whether it's
to be fair,
whether it's the altered up one or not?
The beam isn't.
It is not a circle at all.
Yeah.
Long circle. Long Slurkle. No, I don't. I don't think it's not even that. It's more of a rectangle, isn't it? When it does come out. So we're just going to call it Arc of Ruin. We're happy with that. 9,000 gold going to be the lead here for the Bros. And yeah, DNF running on fumes, to say the least. Seeing whether they can stop Closer in his tracks here, as Paulo just playing defense, doing so successfully here. Slurkle going to connect onto Quantum. He's able to crash his way out of it. But the Bros now grouped up once again, 1 second, and now it's Infernal Soul time. Hype getting to work on this one. They've got so much damage when they do decide to go in here. They don't want Pureshik with any chance of making this happen, and he doesn't. They just burst it down. The ulti from Closer, but it's mitigated by that Zhonya's. But that Arcane Smash was so good. Arc of Ruin comes down as well. Now it's Hype's time to shine. Gets on top, but actually Berserker shuts down the Inara just for a couple of seconds before Closer says, no, this is the decade of Closer, and I am sorry. but you are not winning this team fight. Yeah, Pioshik not going to be getting out of this one either.
Keep running, bro.
Yeah,
Don't stop. Don't stop.
It is some defecting time here for the Trundle, who decides to sit in
You're not going to be able to make it. No, just keep running.
Well, he might actually...
No.
He's not going to. But still, I mean, he hasn't been touched by the Maokai yet. So that is going to be an execute. And down goes Pioshik, not feeling too happy about it, as you can see.
Did buy time, but yeah, this did not go well. The Maokai ult just stops him from getting close. Stasis from Bulldog buys time, but again, there's just so much damage coming out in return, especially with the Infernal Soul. Pioshik barely surviving there, and then Hype a little bit overzealous, disrespecting the Varus burst, but it doesn't really matter. Berserk hiding into the sapling, unfortunately. And right now, this Yone 8-0-4 with the GA.
He just
4 items and change.
I think he actually just went and bought a full GA and the Vampiric Scepter just all at once.
He is very strong.
He is quite a big boy. They also have Infernal Soul, as you mentioned before. That was going to be problematic, and that is going to continue to be so, as the Baron has spawned and now it's dead.
Oh, you know what's the worst? I mean, I don't think it really matters, I'm going to be honest. But the Infernal Soul saplings,
yeah,
not a good time.
I mean, it's also 3 damage items. 0-0-12 Maokai. As Closer not too worried about Sion and Pioshik.
The reason I don't think the saplings will matter much is because you have to leave your base to walk in brushes. And I don't think that's happening.
Dudu, I don't think he's getting out of this one either. The Unstoppable Onslaught is feeling a bit stoppable here. Is the ulti going to collect 2 of them? Immediate snapback there from Closer, though, who did not want to use up that GA just yet. And the Sion does go down. Nothing Dudu can really do here, unfortunately, even though he is Dudu. My goodness, Hype doing so much work. But Berserker's actually, really starting to hurt. These W-empowered Qs.
I mean, this was clearly the theory, right? This is what DNF wanted if the game didn't completely
fall apart.
Yeah, you know, the range of the Varus, if you can set up, if you can protect him, that poke is a big threat. If Bro couldn't find an engage, you would eventually be able to just whittle them down. But the problem is they are finding those engages, and they're strong enough to force. It doesn't even have to be a flawless engage for them to really find favor, but yeah, he lands that piercing arrow there onto Hype and Polu, and then gets the follow-up a bit later.
Yep, gets another one, but we are going to be out of the replay before we get to see that. It's a 14,000 gold lead, and so now, if DNF turn this around, it's about the same as the comeback that Bro had against them in their last matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be redemption for that debt they paid, right?
Now's the time, DNF. Make it happen, as the nature is grasping, and I'm grasping at straws as far as trying to explain that there is a way out here for DNF. It's looking real rough as down this one goes. There's the flash hook out Apollo as well, as Pioshik nowhere to go, and he will just be wiped out. Hype doing so much damage in this fight. This Lurk will connect, and the answer is immediate there from Closer. And look at these autos from Hype. He's untouched. Empress Divide, though, will be able to find him down to the GA. Is this Yunara? But that is a zombie Scion that's just going to get wiped out. The knock-up onto Berserker as well, as he is relegated to the fountain. No comeback this time, as the Bros put DNF down here in Game 1.
And the thing is, we've seen a lot of Rise teams struggle to do successful things against DNF in the early game, and it's come down to clutching in the later stages, even Bro. But this time, Bro, clean sailing.